Man here. Y'all know how I get down. We talking boxing. You know, never before in the history of this channel, I repeat, never have I ever done a response video to any channel. And I've always said to myself, if someone oppose, however, I say my thing or whatever I put out there, and if you oppose it and you put it in a video and you articulate yourself, you get your point across, you remain respectful, I would be more than happy to respond to you. Well, we got just that, ladies and gentlemen, because yesterday I made a video entitled The Anthony Joshua Hoax, Stalling Mandos. And I got a response video put out there on me because of that. And it's by none other than Mr. Sean Newton. Now, Sean Newton is a channel that I thoroughly respect. We are, ladies and gentlemen, having a respectful disagreement. I respect that man. He gives a lot of good boxing insight. I support his channel. He supports mine. He showed me nothing but respect, and I give him nothing but the same. Now, me and Sean are having a disagreement of basically how we view AJ, Anthony Joshua. And Sean Newton basically believes that the criticisms of Anthony Joshua, for one, are not only warranted, I'm kind of just summing this up in a nutshell, but they're not warranted, but they're unfair, they're not right. And he thinks that people are basically spinning their own narratives when it comes to Anthony Joshua. And I believe that that could not be more further from the truth. I think that basically our disagreement stems from the fact that we may view the Anthony Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko fight differently. He views the Anthony Joshua Klitschko fight as a major accomplishment, a major milestone, if you will, for Anthony Joshua. Me, on the other hand, I view it as a big swindle, as a big charade, as a fucking facade, as a farce. I look at it like that, and allow me to give my reasons for such. The thing is this, man. The reason why we give Rocky Marciano so much crap about his victory over Joe Louis, for those who know, because of the age of Joe Louis when Rocky Marciano beat him. The reason why Lennox Lewis doesn't get, I guess, overly credited for beating Mike Tyson is because at that point, Mike Tyson wasn't who he used to be, and he was on his way out the door, right? Right? Isn't this not the reason or not? Same way when Sugar Ray lost his last fight. What would we say? He was on his way out the door, right? Well, in this particular case, there ain't no goddamn difference. Vladimir Klitschko was out of the ring for over a year and a half. He was 41 years old, and he was coming off of a loss. I repeat, a loss over a year and a half of ring rust and inactivity. Not to mention the swindle portion where you have the WBA, whom originally ruled that Vladimir Klitschko will fight an opponent for that WBA title, and then if he wins, then he wins the title and he can go on to defend it. Well, they swindled it and changed it and put it in the Anthony Joshua and Klitschko fight when Klitschko had just lost the same title to Tyson Fury. What makes it so insignificant is the fact that Anthony Joshua is not a WBA ranked fighter at the time. He wasn't a WBA ranked fighter. So how is he fighting for this title? Because Klitschko doesn't own it. Not to mention, you fail to mention, sir, that Anthony Joshua possibly would not even have taken the Klitschko fight if the belt wasn't involved. Eddie Hearn was ready to pull the plug prior to that fight if the title was not involved. See, you don't see what's going on here. You don't tend to see that Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua, they see opportunities. They look for certain opportunities. What they are doing with Anthony Joshua is they are building him into an athlete damn near bigger than life over there in Great Britain. And it's effectively working. But you can't fool people like me with that shit. You go get weak-ass Charles Martin and you pay him a fat-ass bag of money to bring that IBF title over to the UK. And then you turn around and somehow you get Klitschko with his pull and his influence with the WBA to get them to involve a title in a fight that the title should not have been at. If Klitschko wasn't going to fight another WBA ranked fighter for that vacant belt, then guess what? The WBA should have took the next two available fighters and put them against each other for that vacant belt. It's a swindle. It's a fucking swindle. According to Sean Newton, and I quote, prior to facing Klitschko, the only criticism about Joshua was he was unproven. He was too muscular. And basically he was saying that, you know, he had some stamina issues that people were kind of criticizing. Let me deal with the first one. He was unproven. You get me? Here's my question. Who has he proven himself against? I understand we are in a weaker era of heavyweights. I get that. But Dillian White only had, what, 16 fights or something like that when they fought? You dig? He wasn't a champion. He wasn't top 3, top nothing. All right, Charles Martin got the title on a fucking fluke. A fluke because Glasgow broke his goddamn ankles. Not to mention Glasgow had refused to face Deontay Wilder and he chose to fight Charles Martin. Charles Martin proved to be a lunchbox. But who knew and who saw a golden opportunity to throw this man anywhere between $4 to $5 million to have him fly on over to the UK and bring them that title. Man got knocked out in 2 goddamn rounds. Are you kidding me? Are you serious? You know, I'm trying to figure out where he proved himself. So if it wasn't Charles Martin, we're going to say Dominique Breazeale. I'll give it to Dominique Breazeale because he was coming off a big victory. He beat Amir Mansour, if I'm not mistaken. So he was coming off a good fight. I'll give him Dominique Breazeale, be honest with you. I'll give him that shit. But that ain't much. You know what I'm saying? As for the Klitschko fight, like I said before, 1.5 years of ring rust, 41 plus years old, and swindling the WBA to include a title that shouldn't have been there in the first damn place. It's a swindle move, my man. A freaking swindle move. Now, he also talks about the IBF mandatory in Kubrat Pulev. Now, he states that basically they offered Pulev a fight back in the day and Pulev refused, which is true. He refused. Eddie Hearn is well on record saying that he not only offered Pulev one, but many offers to face Anthony Joshua. But Pulev declined and went and took a lower tier fight instead. Now, it's easy to say that. That's only half of the damn story. You know, why didn't Pulev face Anthony Joshua is the bigger question. It was a smart move, actually, on Pulev's part to not face Anthony Joshua at that time. Reason being, Joseph Parker was the #1 contender. He was due to face Anthony Joshua next. However, he decided to vacate that position to go to the WBO and fight for that title instead, which today he's now currently WBO world champion. Well, Kubrat Pulev knew by him being the #2 guy, he would be elevated to #1. Why would I sit here and try to make a fight with Anthony Joshua, who's the IBF champion, when I know I'll become the Mando and he's going to have to fight me any fucking way? Not to mention, at this particular time, if he faces me, maybe, I don't know, I can fight a unified champion. Because whether Klitschko or Joshua wins, they will have 2 titles. And then Pulev will get a chance to not only fight for the IBF, but possibly for the IBF and the WBA. So from a strategic standpoint, it made sense for Pulev to not take that fight right away. It just made sense. Now, he was about 1 year and almost close to 2 years after being knocked out by Klitschko. So I'm not going to say because he was coming off the Klitschko knockout or any of that jazz. No. I'm going to say he saw a strategic maneuvering position. And it's always better, to be honest with you, if you can get a fight as the Mando than as opposed to the voluntary. Because, quite honestly, voluntaries are not guaranteed all the time. Mandos are, or that sanctioning body got to see you somehow, some way. So it was a smart move, in my opinion, by Pulev to say, well, I'm not going to face him today, but I'll face him once I become the mandatory. Then he got to face me. Ain't no backing out. Someone with that title has to face me. It locks him in. It's a smart fucking move. As for Luis Ortiz, now, I'm well on record stating that I believe that Deontay Wilder should face Luis Ortiz for the name, recognition, given that he needs an adrenaline shot into his resume. So I'm well on record saying I wish Wilder would fight Ortiz. But however, did Ortiz have a better shot at facing Anthony Joshua with Eddie Hearn or without Eddie Hearn is the golden question. Sure, he was with Eddie Hearn on a fight-by-fight basis. Eddie Hearn put him in there with Malik Scott, and it was a dud. It was a big fucking dud, because not for Luis Ortiz's sake, but because Malik Scott refused to really engage in that fight. So it turned out to be a dud, though it was a lopsided victory for Luis Ortiz. Now, of course, Luis Ortiz has been calling out Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder for a long time, man. A long time. Clearly, Luis Ortiz knew something that was a bit different. He may have known that Eddie Hearn had no, chance of making an Anthony Joshua Ortiz fight anytime soon. I remember Eddie Hearn stating that he was willing to put him in there with Dillian White, something that Sean mentions. And he states that Eddie Hearn was looking to build up the name of Luis Ortiz around the UK. Well, I don't recall Dominic Breazeale name ringing bells around the UK. I don't recall a lot of fighters that AJ has fought ringing bells around the UK. If AJ wants to build a super fight, there's more than enough names to build super fights with. But I think Luis Ortiz knew something, man. He knew that Eddie Hearn was going to keep AJ away from him as long as he was signed with Eddie Hearn. And at that time, Eddie Hearn had more power over Luis Ortiz to do such. Well, guess what? Luis Ortiz woke the fuck up and he said, I'm getting out of this outfit. And what does he do? He signs with manager Al Heyman. He is now reinstated by the WBC because he's on the Clean Boxer program. And they have elevated him originally to number 2. But given that Klitschko has been interjected, now he's number 3. It seems to me, like I stated in my last video, everybody's doing everything to avoid Luis Ortiz. Now Luis Ortiz is the number 1 Mando by the WBA, so Anthony Joshua or Vladimir Klitschko or whomever has that title will have to face him. It was a smart move by Luis Ortiz. And according to Luis Ortiz, he ain't taking step-aside money. And he's willing to sue their ass. Because Luis Ortiz wants his shot. Fucking with Eddie Hearn, being part of the same outfit as Anthony Joshua, giving Eddie Hearn that much power on making your fights. You really think he would have put them two together anytime soon? They were aging that dude, man. He knew that shit. They were aging him. Well, guess what? They got no power over Luis Ortiz no more. Because Luis Ortiz is in a new outfit. He got a new attitude and he wants his shot. It was brilliant. And now look at Luis Ortiz. As a result of making that move away from Eddie Hearn, he is now the number 1 contender by the WBA. Not to mention Anthony Joshua doesn't even mention the name of Luis Ortiz, man. That speaks volumes to me. That speaks volumes to me indeed. Let's see. What else did he say? Oh, why all of a sudden the Mando bullshit is such an issue when it's issued towards Joshua, according to Sean Newton. Well, you want to say that, people want to run along the line and say that, well, Eddie Hearn's out there today. Well, Anthony Joshua is Great Britain's number 1 sports star. I hear Kell Brook, Anthony Joshua is the messiah of boxing. You know what I mean? I hear Mike Tyson talking up Anthony. Everybody's talking up Anthony Joshua. Yet, in my opinion, what the fuck has he proved? What the hell has he proved, ladies and gentlemen? Riddle me this. So now we say, okay, well, we're not super impressed with the opponents he's already been in there with. So, maybe these Mandos will give him a run for his money, or, it will show us more about Anthony Joshua. And people are asking the question of Why is this Mando bullshit? What has Pulev done to earn the fight? What has Ortiz done to fight? Are you really going to ask that question? What have they done to deserve to be Mandos? You know, he goes on in the video to state that that Deontay Wilder only wants to fight Anthony Joshua for money, correct? Which is not a bad fucking thing, by the way. But he only wants to fight him for money. And then he turns around and says, well, the reason that Anthony Joshua is preferring to face Klitschko more than anybody is because Klitschko has all these TV rights. They'll make this amount of money. They'll fill that stadium. It's about money as well. It's all about money. I think you even reached that conclusion towards the end of the video, man. It's all about money. Ain't nothing wrong with that shit. And if AJ, if Deontay Wilder feels as though, well, yes, I can make a boatload of money by fighting AJ, so now is the right time, then so be it. That ain't nothing new under the sun. That's how boxing operates. You build fights. It's a smart thing to do. But the fact of the matter is, the real threats, in my opinion, to Deontay Wilder is Tyson Fury. To Anthony Joshua. It's Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. The two fights that's going to take forever to happen are the two biggest threats to Anthony Joshua. We know we're at least 2 fights away from either one. But Tyson Fury could be even further than that. I don't know. But those are the 2 major threats. Anybody else? AJ might can't even squeak bow or whatever. But those are the 2 major threats. And those are the 2 names that you won't. Those are the 2 fights that you won't see AJ approaching with such vigor, if you will. Now, if Tyson Fury comes back and look like shit and gains like a split decision victory, I can see it. But if Tyson Fury comes back looking like the same old Tyson, moving with speed, elusive, the feints, AJ won't call out Tyson Fury no more. That's how it goes. That's how it goes, ladies and gentlemen. So, all I'm simply saying is, to me, they're doing this typical hype machine. I don't think he's done anything so far up to this point that's astronomical. Beating Klitschko just does not ring the same bells for me as it does for y'all, because you can't beat a guy coming off a loss that's 41 years old after being out of the ring for a year and a half and expect fucking accolades through the roof. At least when Tyson Fury beat him, right? He was much younger at that point, at least. You know what I mean? He was still champion. He was still the Klitschko that we all knew. All the titles, haven't been beaten in a decade. Well, guess what? All that allure went out the window the second that Tyson Fury beat him. Okay? And now he's coming off 2 losses. So what, are we going to credit Anthony Joshua if he beat him again? Oh, wait, he beat Tyson. Well, what? How come Tyson Fury didn't get this much praise when he beat him? That's the question. That's the question for me, man. Klitschko, he says Klitschko dominated for 10 years. He deserves respect and opportunity to revenge a loss against Joshua. I agree. I mean, whatever has been negotiated has been negotiated. You can't renege on that shit. So if it's been negotiated and if it's in the terms and we know it's going to happen, so fucking be it. You know what I mean? That's fine. It's not even so much about whether Klitschko deserves it or not. It's more so about, that was what was negotiated. They knew this. You know what I'm saying? So it's all good with me. I think, I don't take nothing away from Vladimir Klitschko. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going in there, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But at this point in his career, it's not the same as, say, when he lost in the past. It's not the same when he lost to Tyson Fury. You know why? Because we had seen that act before now 4 times. That's why it's not the same, man. He had no belts when Joshua beat him. Look, man, I like AJ. I think AJ could be on his way. But I think he is being maneuvered through the sharks very carefully by a skipper named Eddie Hearn. And I'm not saying this has not happened before in the history of boxing. This has happened numerous of times throughout the days of the history of boxing. This has happened, so many goddamn times. This ain't nothing new under the sun. That's the reason why I recognize it, man. So, Anthony Joshua is just like any other fighter. Yes, he should fight his Mandos. And it's funny to me how he's immediately taking the easiest Mando. Kubrat Pulev is the easiest out of the two, correct? Luis Ortiz will age just a little bit more, right? Kubrat, but given that they just won that WBA title, and he has to rematch Klitschko, and we know the pull that Klitschko got, I'm sure the WBA will grant him an extension or do whatever they got to do to keep Luis Ortiz at bay. I'm sure. Now, the IBF may not be as lenient, but according to Eddie Hearn, he will try to put in an exemption form for that particular situation as well. But they may not be as lenient. He may come down to have to vacating his IBF title. You know what I mean? And if that's the case, then he's nothing but forced to face Luis Ortiz. Let's see how they maneuver out of that situation if this occurs. So it's going to be interesting to me, man. It's going to be interesting to me, man. Like I said, man, everybody's running around. You want to paint this guy like he is the man. He's the savior of boxing. He's putting boxing back on the map. He's everything under the sun. But then to us boxing people, if you will, those who eat, sleep, and breathe this shit, we take a closer look and we say, what the fuck is the big noise about? Who has he beat? Where is these accolades? I'm a little lost on that. Kell Brook called this man the messiah of boxing. Is Kell Brook out of his damn mind? Look, I'm going to end this video with this. Sean said that this was the biggest heavyweight fight in the last 25 years. I will say, as far as the Klitschko and Joshua fight, I will say it was an action-packed fight. It was a very, very big event. 90,000, right? But it was a WBA swindle. You know what I'm saying? The WBA title being involved in this fight was the only reason that the fight even went down. Not for honor, not for glory, not for seeing if you're the best. None of that bullshit. It was about money and title. Money and titles. Money and titles. That's the only reason. Only reason. So what you classify as the greatest fight in the last 25 years in the heavyweight division, which I'm not even going to go down the road of throwing other fights out there, but if you think so, then this, sir, is the biggest swindle in quite, I don't know if it's the last 25 years, but I'll say in quite some time, especially amongst the heavyweight division. So I'm going to leave that at some of those points. Maybe he'll respond. I don't know if he will, if he won't, but I'll be looking out for it. I'll be listening out for you, man. But we clearly view the Klitschko-Joshua fight totally different. You know what I'm saying? And I see them building Anthony Joshua right before our eyes. I see them hyping, creating this great hype right before our eyes. Now, it's going to show great results in the bank account. It's going to show real good results in the money department. But once we take a look back at all of this and see, when we put all of this stuff in significance, we're going to ask the question of what the fuck did he really do? And you compare him to what other heavyweights have, well, let's just say, what the fuck did he do? You know what I'm saying? Real talk. So I'm going to leave it there, Sean. I'll wait for see what you got to say, man. To the next video, Main Man, Made Man. Don't forget to subscribe. Twitter, Made Man 511. Facebook, Main Man, Made Man Boxing Forum. Google Plus, Main Man, Made Man. Like I said, man, I like AJ, but, you know, when you see things, you just see things, man. And the way they setting this thing up, man, the way it's just floating, the way how he got the Martin fight, the way how he maneuvered into the Klitschko situation and how he got the titles involved, and he wasn't going to fight Klitschko if the title wasn't involved, and the things that they've done to Luis Ortiz, man, and they keeping him at bay. It just to me just speaks volumes, and I don't understand how nobody can't see it. I don't understand. To the next video. Peace out.